All right, we've started the recording. Welcome to today's mob. It's the 23rd of April, 3 o'clock our time, possibly 2 o'clock EBA's time. That's Berlin. Welcome to the Ruby mob. It's me, Sigumagwa. You can see Eba. Hey, Eba.
Hi.
Thank you. Hey, Getty.
Hi, Sigo.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Sigo.
Oh, you guys seem to be sharing a microphone. Hey, Moses. Hey, Moses. Hey, Moses. Okay, he's not there. So let's go on and we can start the mob. If I check on the calendar, previously we were not able to have a mob session. We were really chasing a deadline. So we had to do that first. Then luckily today we have the time. So previously, that's previously of the previously. We talked about when and why we should use class methods. Now, this time we are supposed to discuss converting the converter and class methods versus instance methods. Converting the converter, I don't understand what that is unless we go through the book. Should we do the random thing? Okay. Kevin? Kevin, should we do the random? Okay, I can do the random. Get you okay with that?
Will they be included?
Oh, you. Okay, Eba, can you be included?
Sure. Which one is it for the Ruby? I need to leave though in 15 minutes, but.
So if it lands on you, or can you take over for like 15 minutes before you go? Then after that, we decide who will lead the session.
Sure.
Okay, so
I'm just gonna go get my paper then. Hold on.
All right, no worries.
I know, but this is what I'm also saying. Like, I think that at some point you just struggling to make a difference. Sometimes when it's really hard to make that difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there is a difference.
Also,
yeah. So I think it's okay to have information to live there, also because then there's chance to.
Okay, I'm back.
We're at page 85.
Yes. Class methods versus instance methods.
Yep. No, we're supposed to start at converting the converter, then we go to classes versus class versus instance methods.
Oh, are we still on when and why to write a class method?
Yeah, so we are supposed to finish up on this, converting the converter.
Okay. This is scary.
Okay, if you're not comfortable with that, then we can move over to the next one, then we can discuss this later on.
Yeah, because I'm not sure about the converter thing, but I read through class methods and instance methods.
Okay. So I think we can go through the class versus instance methods.
Okay.
All right.
So I just go through the text and explain, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Should I share my screen? I don't have anything on my computer. I just have a paper.
Okay, I think I can share my screen just so that anyone who's looking can...
That's probably smart to do.
Yeah. Anyone who's watching can see what you're talking about. Where is that? Well-grounded Rubies. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So to be honest, I don't really understand why he called the thing class methods versus instance methods, because it doesn't feel like he explains. Yeah, whatever. I'll always go through it. Okay, so by defining ticket.mostexpensive, we defined a method that we can access through the class object ticket, but not through its instances. Individual ticket object instances of class ticket don't have this method. You can test this easily Okay, la la. So basically, I think what he's saying is that ticket dot most expensive is the method of ticket. Is an instance method, right? Where's
Wait.
that?
Most expensive is a method.
Yes, exactly. But it's not like it's not a class method, right? It's an instance method because you can only use it on ticket. You can't use it on anything else.
Okay. No, I think it's the other way around because you're calling it on a class because
Okay,
ticket
so-
is a class.
So then it's a class method. But
That makes it a class.
okay. Yeah, I think he's a bit confusing.
Yeah,
You have to
because
find-
if you talk about a class method, it's a method that you call on a class. So all classes in Ruby start with uppercase.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, okay.
if you have
I thought it
ticket-
was because, dot most expensive is a class method, but it's not like a class method like new. It's like you can only use it on ticket. You can't use it on any other class, right?
Yes.
Because we haven't do you say instantiated it on another class?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So you can call most expensive directly on ticket without instantiating. So that actually technically makes it a class method because you do not need an instance to call most expensive.
Yeah,
Does that-
exactly. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So it's the same as the new method, which you don't need an instance to call new on ticket,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. Interior ticket objects. Don't have this method.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's saying that we can access, we've defined this method and you can access it through the class object. So there's a confusing statement, class object ticket. So it's a class, it's an object, it's called ticket. Okay?
Yeah.
So all classes are objects.
But so it says, but not through its instances. Does that mean that we can't use we can't use most expensive method on a class made from ticket?
Yes, exactly. That's
We
it.
can only use it on ticket, basically.
Yep. So you can try that. Do you have your computer on so you can try that on the terminal
Yes.
and see if it's not working?
Open a new. I don't know if I have RB though.
Okay, just try it.
No, I don't.
You don't? You
No.
can. Do you have Ruby?
No. This is my working computer.
Oh yeah, so it doesn't have Ruby.
No.
Oh, what can we use to try it? Let me see. Or I can share my screen, then you tell me what to do, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. So let's share my entire screen. Okay.
Okay, so we can test this easily by. Yes, I mean.
Getty
Yeah.
has a question, I think. Getty has a
Yes.
question.
Sorry.
Hi, but it's so not code related. I'll just ask it after. It's not code related. I'll ask it after the mob.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So we can continue. I have my IRB on.
Yes. Okay, so I'm guessing we should try this out then if we can use most expensive method on the variable FG to confirm that we can only use most expensive on ticket.
Okay, so we can start by defining a class ticket.
Yes, so you should make a new new class called ticket, right?
Yeah.
So what is that? That's ticket equals.
Oh, we're creating a class first.
Yeah, don't you do? Oh wait, ticket equals class.new.
Oh, but we need. Oh, by the way, that can also work. But we can use this method that I have on my screen right now,
Okay.
where you define a class using the class keyword.
Oh, you already had the ticket class.
No, I'm defining that right now.
Okay, class ticket. And then we have, we need to make a method called most expensive.
So we can define ticket dot most expensive.
Then we should pass in the parameter tickets, right?
So it can take in tickets, but you don't really need to make it work. Just confirm that you can't call it.
Okay, okay.
So you can do puts, I am expensive.
Yes. Then end. And then we can try and do the ticket dot most expensive, right?
Okay. So I can do tickets. These are
I am
expensive.
expensive, yes. And then we need to make a new,
No
is it
ticket.
called instance class from ticket?
Yeah, so you create instances by saying ticket.new.
Yes, ticket.new equals, right?
Yeah, okay, let's say ticket1 equals
Ticket.new.
Okay.
And then now we could do ticket1 and then apply the method to it, most expensive.
expensive. So the method is
doesn't
not
work.
available to the instance.
Exactly. Is that also if you make the instance before we make the method, then it doesn't work either?
The instance, yes, because this can only be received by the class. It can't be
Okay.
received by this. So the easier way out of, instead of defining this variable, okay,
Yes.
you can actually do ticket.new, then call, because the moment you call ticket.new, it will create an instance. Then now you can call most expensive on the instance that will be created from here.
And it
So-
won't work, right?
Yeah, it won't work. So in Ruby, whenever you chain methods like this, it will start by calling the first method, then
Yeah.
calls the second method on the result. Then if you have this, then it will start by creating a new ticket, then call most expensive of the new ticket, then sort the result of having the most expensive of the new ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Try that. That still won't work.
Doesn't work. Okay, cool. And then we can then move on to the next page. And yeah, then they also say you get an error message because FG has no method called most expensive. And then the class of FG, namely ticket, has such a method, but FG is an instant and the ticket doesn't. Yeah. So does everyone understand that? Why we couldn't use the method most expensive on ticket 1?
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, cool. And then he reminds us this whole thing that classes are objects and instances of classes are objects too. And a class object like ticket has its own methods in its own state and its own identity. It doesn't share these things with instances itself. Sending a message to ticket isn't the same thing as sending a message to FG or CC or any instance of ticket. That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Because, yeah, he's repeated that like throughout the chapter. Does everyone understand, or should I say something else?
No, we're okay.
Okay, cool. And then this gray box, a note on method notation.
It's pink on an unprinted paper. It's not gray.
Oh, it's gray on my paper. That's why. So basically, what he says in this box is that when you're writing and referring to Ruby methods, you should use different syntax. So let's see here. You should use the hashtag when it's a instance method, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you should use the dot when it's a class method. And you can also use colon, which also means class method, basically.
Yeah.
So dot and colon means the same thing, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yes.
So this is more of a convention, I think, because if you check on, see, if you check on Ruby docs, rubydoc.org. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Okay. So if you check on the Ruby docs and come to any class, let's say the array class, then the methods are normally listed on this side. Now, any method that starts with a double colon, like this is a class method. This is a class method, class methods. Now, all these are instance methods, whatever starts with a hashtag.
Exactly.
Yeah, all this needs an instance of an array to work. These don't need an instance of an array. So you can just say array.new, like this.
Yeah.
Array.new. But all the others needs an instance for them to work. Like shuffle, you need an array. Then after that, you can call shuffle on that, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Right.
Okay, I think that concludes my thing about class methods and instance methods.
All right. Thank you.
So next time we're going to talk about constants up close, right?
Yeah, we can do that, but I think we still have pretty much some time, so I can quickly rush through this section.
Yeah, because I need to go now. It's meaning next time. Next time I see you guys.
All right. So, okay, for us, we're going to go back to converting the converter. Then we can continue with constants.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Well, bye, guys. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, no problem. You could have just asked, Aidashida. So let's go back. Way back. Lion King. No, Timon and Pumbaa. Let's go back. No, not there. Just go back. Okay, converting the converter. I don't really understand what this was doing. Okay, Getty. Okay, Kimbelembele, take it off.
Actually, I do understand what this is talking about because it's simply creating a class method that converts Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. What this guy was saying is simply whenever you do not want to use an instance of a class, basically an object, you can always do this. You can always make a class method if you don't want to use instances. So this is exactly what he's done. He's used a class method called temperature. Oh, sorry, the class is called temperature, and the method, there are two methods, C to F and F to C. One of them converts Celsius to Fahrenheit, and the other converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. That's all.
Yeah. So why
not use instance of the C2F? Why not an instance method?
He chose to teach us about class methods first. That's why he used it. But anyway, you can use an instance method. That would be class temperature, and then you just define C to F rather than define temperature of C to F. And then afterwards, you create an instance and then call it.
Okay, because I remember from the last time I read this, my understanding was that for you to convert a temperature from one unit to the other, you don't really need the temperature to be an instance of temperatures for the conversion to be there. Okay.
Makes sense.
So if you're converting 100 degrees centigrade to Fahrenheit, you don't need 100 degrees centigrade to be an instance for that to be converted.
Yeah.
So temperature, according to this, is an abstract.
Like a concept.
Yeah, it's a concept. It's an abstract concept that you don't create instances for it to work with it. Makes sense?
Yes.
It's like grades, maybe. If you're working with grades in a class of students, if you have to find, let's say, the mean of the grades in a system, you don't really need an instance of anything to create the grades. I don't know if that makes sense. Is it what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Make
that's
sense?
what makes sense.
Okay.
Right. So we continue the differences between class and instance methods. Instance methods work on the instances. Class methods work on the classes. Don't forget that the class is also an object that receives the method. So ticket that most expensive means that the ticket is an object that receives the most expensive method. Okay. The gray box on a printed paper. This is pink. Constants up close. Getty, do us the honors. Constants up close. If you're not okay, we can.
All right. What I understood from this is simply constants. Constant basically is a variable with a capital letter, if I'm not wrong.
That doesn't change.
It can change. Okay, we'll get to that later. So constant, can you go lower or should I go through every word? So many classes consist principally of instance methods or class methods, but constants are an important and common third ingredient in many classes. We've already seen constants used in names of classes, and constants can also be used to set and preserve important data values in classes, just like we use variables. Yeah. Okay, later we'll look at the scope of constants and techniques for nesting them inside multi-level classes and modules. For now, we'll focus on the basics of how to use them and the question of how constant these constants really are. Okay.
So I think you can go through this really quick without reading the words.
Okay, so for constants, for me to be able to define a constant, first of all, the convention is that it should begin with a capital letter. All the letters could be caps actually in the first place, or the first one only could be in caps. That defines a constant already. So we use constants when we want to store a value that we don't want to change later on, mostly. Yeah, so for example, here we have a constant named venues. And in venues, we've stored 3 elements: convention center, fairgrounds, and town hall. So venues is our constant in this case. And then I told Sigo I have an issue with initialize methods and setter and getter methods. So once I see them, I just freak out. So you could take over from there and then I'll take over after.
Okay. Moses, are you willing to take over? Are you okay? Okay, no problem. No, there's no pressure about that. How about you, Kevin? Can you take over?
Okay, so about initialize. So it just means that every time you are initialize, for example, every time you are creating an object. Actually, what new usually does, it usually checks if there is an initialize method in the class. So, for example, if you want every time you create an object, you should be passing some values, then you can now set the initialize method. Yeah, so a new method usually checks one initialize method in the class. So, so this bit, A constant defined in a class can be referred to from inside the class's instance or class methods. Okay, so what was really happening?
Are you sharing
Your screen.
No, I'm using.
my screen?
Yeah.
Can you share screen, please? Do you have the book open?
Yeah.
Okay, you can do that. So that I can stop sharing my screen and control the recording.
Okay. It's shared.
Yes, Moses, we can't hear you. You're reading chapter 2. Okay, 3. Oh, you're not yet here. No problem, Moses. So at least now that we're discussing this, you're getting to know what you'll be reading later on. And if you have any question on chapter 2 that you need cleared up, do you have anything you need cleared up that we can discuss in like 10 minutes to time? Or everything is okay? You're comfortable with that chapter? Okay, cool. No problem.
So there was something here that when we define our constants, usually they should be at the top of like the classes. Yeah. Okay, so what was happening here was they were saying the need for this initialize method was, for example, when you're creating every object or every ticket, you want to ensure that every time you're creating an object, you give it the variant. Yeah, so that was the importance. Otherwise, if you are just getting tickets without giving the meta, then you are a debt. Then this was not necessary. Okay, so let's look at. So it's possible to refer to a constant from outside the class definition using a special lookup the double one, just as we saw for the class method. So an example, for example, here we have a class ticket, yes. Then we have a constant venues with those values. Then we can access this outside by first we specify from which class we want to do this, or let me think I can test something. Let's test this. So since another class one, then we have a constant of this.
Okay, what's happening?
I'm creating a constant. So we have a class person. I've created a constant for this. Let's try accessing it just without. So we are getting an initial constant for this. But if we really want to access it, we have to specify where we are getting it from and using the, how did they call it?
Double column.
Constant lookup notation. A special constant lookup notation, which is the double column. So if we do this, we're expecting to see the array elements here. Okay. So yeah, here is where they've accessed the constant, the venues constant, using that lookup notation. Okay, so instances where the constants have been used. let's go to this part here. Ruby predefined constants. So for example, let's just try this. So there is a pi class, a math class here, and the constant name is pi. So we expect to see probably the value of pi here, which is usually 3. So from, in this case, we have the math class. So inside the math class, there is the pi constant is defined inside the math class.
Can you get curious and look up this on the documentation?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Let's check the.
Okay, so we're checking out the documentation.
Check the documentation for the math class.
Yeah.
So this. So we can see the methods.
Yeah.
So there is constants here this side.
Yeah.
So we have constants. So these ones are like just as we saw the previous. These are the class methods. Then the constants we have one is for E, which is for definition of mathematical constant E, which is like a float number. Then a constant pi, here it is, yeah?
Yeah, I think use exponential.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay. So we have seen how, so the math class has a constant pi defined. So if you want to access it, then you do the math.pi. So the same, math is a module. Oh, it's not a class. So math is a module, but the principle is the same in case of a constant defined inside a class. So I use that constant lookup notation connector to do a lookup on the constant pi defined in the math module. So I was talking of class, but it's a module. So this lookup notation applies both for classes and modules.
But there's a way of knowing whether you're looking up a module or a class from the Ruby documentation. Just go back to the documentation. Okay, so on look at your title bar. It's written module math. Now you can go back and search for math. Just go back. Search for math. Oh, go back again.
Oh,
Okay, so C is a class and M is a module. Yeah, just
so we have C for class, M for module. Okay, nice. Okay, and, okay. So many of the predefined constants you can examine when you start up Ruby. For example, specifically in the Ruby, are the names of built-in classes like string, array, and symbol. Some are informational, even without loading the data. So, for example, if you want to check for Ruby version, so for example, this. So notice also this is let me just go back here a bit. So many predefined constants you can examine when you start up. They are the let me say the Ruby interpreter are built-in classes. Are the names of built-in classes such as string, array, symbol, and so on. So some are informational. So even without loading the rb-config package, you can get the interpreter to tell you a fair amount about its settings. So, for example, Ruby version. So this is a constant in the Ruby class. Don't notice here we have not called it specifically on a class or a module. So my assumption is the moment you are in IRB, you are in make. Is it the IRB class or a Ruby class?
I think for predefined constants, you just don't have to call a class with it. It's predefined, so you can just call it.
So I was just. So where do you think it's defined?
Yeah,
Ruby
where is
class?
it defined?
Where is it defined?
Basic objects.
That's yeah. Where is it defined? For it to because somewhere in our names we have Ruby version is equal to the version of. So where is
Yeah.
it defined?
Actually, where is it? No. Where might this be? Ruby version. So it's a constant, but you don't know where it's defined. Get your search. No, it's allowed because we don't have an idea where it's coming from. Then it's also look at mainstream. It's a Ruby underscore version.
Yeah.
Searching on the docs. Okay. What's happening?
We're trying to look for where Ruby version is defined.
Let me just search also. Where Ruby version constant is defined.
How have we Googled the same thing? We have the same Googling powers.
Oh, tutorial points. I can share my screen. Or
Okay.
that's what you're looking at.
No.
Okay, let me
Okay,
share.
let's see.
My God is good. Okay, I'm sharing that. True, false. What the is not anything.
It's not helpful.
Or true, false, mirror, button compatible, synonym for true. This is not helpful. Not at all. Why is variable undefined? Okay, let me try Google. Okay. I don't know how to search for this. Okay. I don't really know how to search for this. Oh, making sense of constant focus in I don't think we have time to go through this now.
Okay, let's finish this section.
You can continue with whatever you're doing.
So, some other constants, the release date, the dedication, the copyright. So, as you can see, the information stored in these constants correspond to the information you get when you do the dash v. So, when you usually do when you usually do Ruby, checking for Ruby version. So this information is like according to is like a collection of these constants. So like this one, you have the Ruby version. Okay, I can always do that. Let me check for them one by one. So we have Ruby.
Actually,
We had Ruby version. Then we had Ruby backups. Batch level is that. Next one is relation. Relation. There is object. So we have this. So doing, let's see, we have here the version that subject revision favorite. Oh, let me do the
What is patch level?
Ruby patch level.
It's an update.
Again,
An update? An update from?
Ruby.
Oh.
okay.
So if we have Ruby 2.4.1, then you can have an update called 111.
Okay. So they're saying this doing Ruby dash V is just a collection of the information this one here. Okay, next up, reassigning and modifying constants. Can we do this now?
Yeah, we have to try.
Okay. So we were saying that a constant is something we are defining because we don't want to modify it in the. It's something we really are not planning to modify later on. But there is a way you can like modify it. Okay, so it's possible to perform an assignment on a constant to which you have already assigned something. That is like reassigning to the constants, but you get a warning if you do this. So, for example, let's try. Here we have an example. We have a constant a given 1, then another. The constant again, we are like redefining it. We are reassigning it. So, if we have that. Okay. Then we do that. So we have a warning already initialized constant a. Previous definition was of A was here. Okay.
So basically, uppercase and lowercase are totally different. The moment Ruby sees an uppercase, it assumes that's a constant, then a lowercase is a variable. Because if you go back to your IRB, what's the value of lowercase a? The lowercase. Oh, and actually the constant a was assigned to 5 despite the warning.
Yeah, the return value is 5.
So you can change a as many times as you want.
But it will give you a warning. Okay. So the fact that constant names are reusable, while the practice of reusing them is a warnable offense, represents a compromise. So on the other hand, it's useful for the language to have separate category for constants as a way of storing data that remains visible over a longer stretch of the program than a regular variable. Ruby is a dynamic language in the sense that anything can change during runtime. Engineering constants to be an exception to this will theoretically be possible, but will introduce an anomaly into the language. Okay. So because you can reload program files you have already loaded, and the program files can include constants assignments, forbidden reassignment of constants, will mean that file reloading operations will fail with the fatal error. Who have understood that bit?
I think my understanding is that in addition, because you can, okay, I can start from, on one hand, it's useful. Let me zoom in.
Thank you. So on one hand, it's useful for the language to have a separate category of constants as a way of storing data that remains visible for a longer stretch than the regular variable. That's how Ruby uses the constants. Now, on the other hand, it's a dynamic in the sense that it can change during runtime. Now, engineering constants to be an exception. So if we say that constants cannot be dynamic during runtime, then this is an exception that is theoretically possible. Ruby is dynamic language. Okay, things change during runtime. So if we say that constants can be changed during runtime, it is theoretically possible, but it will bring problems. Now, some of the problems that it will bring is the example that's on the next one. Now, if you reload files that are already loaded, so let's say you had a constant where your hobbies were swimming and sleeping, then maybe you add another hobby of watching a movie. If you reload a file that has your hobby of watching a movie, then there might be an error because watching a movie will never be a part of your hobbies. I don't know if that makes sense. So it allows you to reassign even your hobbies or whatever it is, the constant that you did. Okay. If you don't allow reassignment, it will mean that file reloading operations will fail with fatal errors. So probably the new version of the file required you to be able to watch movies for the program to continue working. So you can reassign to a constant, but it is not considered as a good practice. Okay. The other sense in which it's possible to change a constant is by making changes to the object which the constant refers to. I think we can continue from this point next time. Okay. Since I started this, okay, get it?
I found where constants are defined. They're defined in the object class.
Object. Oh,
Yes. No, just
another
object.
object.
How did you find that? You went through the basic object, and the tree. Okay, let's check that. Then we can call it a day. Ruby doc. Let's go to the Ruby doc, Ruby 2.5. Then the object class, or the object. This object class, which is also an object, an instance of object. Oh, here they are. Genius in the making. Oh, you're already a genius. Okay, here they are. Fix num nil. Oh, Ruby copyright. So does that mean that basic object, you can't call this from within the basic object? This makes sense because when you're on IRB, okay, let me just try one more thing before we leave. Okay, I can define a class called my class. And I give it a constant. I'm not sharing my screen. Let me do that. My class, okay, is it clear? And my class has a constant called the string value constant. Okay? For me to access that, I need to do this. Right? It'll print back a constant. So does this mean that if I am inside my class, then I can call const directly without the double columns? So yeah, so this is what I mean. Does it mean that if I do that and define the const, then I can put const? Okay. So this means that so if I'm outside, I have to prepend it with this. If I'm inside, I do not have to. Okay, so this calls this warning already assigned. Okay, that makes sense. So this means that inside the IRB, we have the basic object. And inside the basic object, we have a constant called Ruby version. So you don't have to prepend. Inside the IRB, we have the basic object. So we have a constant inside the basic object that's called Ruby version. So we can try this. Oh, not the basic object. Sorry, it's object. So object, you can see we have Ruby version, Ruby revision, Ruby release date, Ruby. So all these constants starting with R inside the object. That's why you don't need to predicate, or how do you call that? With object every time. Okay, thank you, Getty, for that. Oh, whoa. Yeah, it's been a long day. So we close up our meetup. Guys, what are you going to talk about next time? We're going to talk about basic use. No. Reassigning. We've talked about reassigning, but we haven't finished. So we'll finish up on the reassigning, nature and nurture of the Ruby objects. And if possible, we'll be done with chapter 3. We will be done with chapter 3. Yes. So we're going on to chapter 4. We'll be discussing modules. We are moving. We are going to chapter 4. We are actually moving. So on Thursday, we will probably start on chapter 4 of the well-grounded rubies. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.